Hey folks, it's Rob Flux here with another Sunday session, and one of the hottest topics on everybody's lips, the cost of construction and how can we actually do something about that. Today we have a very special guest that's going to be talking all about prefabricated construction and the ability to bring some savings of that to you. So please welcome into the studio Ozge from Box Areno. Hey Ozge, how are you?
Hi everyone.
Hey, I just noticed a really bad faux pas, very bad background. I've just fixed that out, so terrible about that. Welcome, Ozge. Now, prefab construction is something that I guess a lot of people have had an idle curiosity for a very long period of time, but they're scared for a whole bunch of reasons. So we're going to go and try and unpack a lot of those things and give people some insights into the different kinds of prefab and the different ways that actually can be done. And then, of course, the way Box Areno, I guess, does things. But firstly, why don't you tell us a little bit about who is Box Areno and who is Ozge, and I guess why are you the expert we want to be listening to today?
Ozge is interior designer. I have so many hats actually. 2 kids, interior designers, founder of Box Areno. I'm also a lecturer at university, master in project management. So I wear so many hats. We can talk about that some other day. About Boxareno. Boxareno is custom modular construction firm. We are the exclusive distributor of a very large global firm, which specializes in residential custom modular construction and hotels and shopping centers. So Boxareno can design any modular construction. There's no limit to it, and we work with hotel chains and developers and turn their dream houses into modular constructions to make it fast and more cost affordable.
Yeah, and you said you're part of a global organization. I think you said offices in 6 countries.
8 offices in 8 countries, and even if we don't have an office, we usually work with globally every country. We build everywhere. So company basically owns 7 factories. We do not only build the modular constructions, but we build the interiors, furniture, kitchen, bathroom. Basically, factories can build anything. Metal fabrication factory. And also company owns a natural stone mine and masonry. So all the marble and Turkish travertine all comes from our own factories.
So you can pretty much keep it all in shop, I guess, from start to finish if they need, or I guess break that up as people actually require, yes?
Yes, exactly. So our aim is to, build everything as much as we can. But even if we can't build, for example, tapware, we have, because it's a global company, we have agreements with all of the manufacturers, high-end manufacturers, to get it at a more reasonable cost.
Very good. Okay, so let's give people a little bit of a lesson in prefab, because a lot of people, when they think about prefab, they think of container homes and that sort of thing, which is just one end of the scale. But there's actually 3 different kinds of prefab, as I understand it. So there is the typical container home, which I guess there are some constraints that sit around. Then there's modular construction, and then there's what Box Areno does, which is custom modular. Just so that we can give everyone some insights into the differences between all 3, why don't we just touch on, firstly, let's start on containers. What are some of the, I guess, the features and or benefits and or limitations that go into prefabricated container homes?
So container houses, you can just see from the name, it is going to look like a container. So these containers can actually be connected to each other, but it will arrive to your land and as a container. And then you can put a few containers together and make it a larger space for you. They are very affordable. They don't have to be made of containers, but it has to be the container in the container specifications. The reason for that is because of the local transport. You know.
Yeah. So
Um,
I'll just clarify that for everybody else, because
mhm,
what you're referring to is a shipping container. So it doesn't have to be, I guess, an actual shipping container, but it has to be manufactured to the specifications of a shipping container. So it
yes.
can look different, but it's got to have
Mhm.
the same dimensions and the same pickup points and that sort of thing, because it's going to go potentially on the back of a truck that gets picked up by the container and go into ships that have, I guess, those same loading facilities. So it's got to have those specifications.
Yes, it has to have those specifications. You can build, like, again, something looking like a container. It doesn't have to be the container materials. It can be built with a wood, for example, but then the whole container will be sitting on the back of a truck, and then it will be lifted up, put on the land, and done. It's ready for you. So that's container houses. There are some, it is very affordable. The biggest advantage is there's no, you don't need to build anything. It comes as a container, or if you need to make it larger, it's just two containers can be attached to each other. That's also not a hard process. And also, everything is ready for you, so it's cost
Yeah.
effective way.
So really good for affordable housing, really good for tiny homes, really good for, I guess, cost-effective solutions. But they do, because of the fact that they're in the shape of a container, they look boxy. You can kind of disguise that by changing the facade on the outside of the box and that sort of thing, but they still do look a little bit boxy. But they've also got some potential limitations in how you actually join two or more of those together, because if you're going to do that, you're going to have holes, I guess, cut into the container. So there's limitations to keep the structural integrity of the container in place. Correct?
Yes, that's correct. So it can't be cut. For example, you want to have a very large opening to your backyard. That is usually not possible. You must have a small, usually comes with smaller windows, smaller doors, to not to affect the integrity of the structure. And also it is boxy. Usually the length is not a very big problem, but the width is, because because it will go behind a truck, so it can't be really wide, and then that's going to be more like a Victorian houses, those very small entrance and things like that. Also structural integrity, like you mentioned, you can't really make it. You can make it multi-level, but that needs structural engineers and some structural support. Then you lose the advantage of affordability, because then structural engineers has to just like traditional build something there, and then the boxes will be put on top of each other with a structural support. But it is perfect as a tiny house. If you're just going to put it on a land, ready, perfect, and affordable.
And so that's what a lot of people think prefab is, I guess, because that's kind of where the industry kind of started. And there's a lot of those things that you can buy and import them from China and all those sorts of things. So it's one view of the world, but it's more the budget end. So then if we step up a level, then there's modular housing. So give us some insights into what modular housing is, and again, what it can be used for and how it works and that sort of thing.
Modular housing, usually, when people think about prefab houses, they think about modular houses. Those, 3-bedroom, affordable housing, box kind of thing, with small windows, not very, you can't see much design, doesn't look very modern. but very affordable. So what is modular house is a house, modular house will be in modules. So it will be faster to build. Usually these modular house companies will have models that they've designed already, comes with certain specifications, size. You can say you can buy 3-bedroom house, 2-bedroom house with simple kitchen and affordable materials, tiles or Winley, those kind of houses we're talking about. So they are very affordable.
Yeah, but like Lego bricks, so that they come with templated designs, and you go, well, I would like this size bedroom, and I plug it in, and I want this size kitchen, and I plug it in. It's kind of like Lego bricks.
Yes, exactly.
But I guess because of that, I guess templated type designs. So if you've got your own custom architectural design, it typically won't suit here. You have to design specifically, have your architect design specifically to use these modules if you want to use that kind of construction. Is that correct?
Yes, it's not architecture. It's not going to look high-end or modern. These houses usually, any upgrade you do, because it's built in the factory, any upgrade you do, all the factory settings has to be changed and made especially for you. So it costs a lot more. Any addition you make will cost a lot more. So it's not the final price you're getting usually, and that's the disadvantage. But if you're just going to buy the, whatever with the factory specifications, whatever model they have, that's again very affordable and easy to build with just modules put together and screw them. That's it.
Because their production lines set up to make the same thing over and over and over and over and over, and get very good efficiencies of scale at that particular thing. But then if you vary from that, that's where it breaks their rhythm and breaks their process. So again, affordable housing, but a step up from the container homes, does look better, is a little bit more, I guess, upper market, but it's certainly not up market. But certainly in that affordable housing type arena. Then there's the last one, which is custom modular homes, and that's kind of where Boxareno fits in. So this is, I guess, completely different to the other one. No templated designs or anything like that. Give us some insights in custom modular homes.
So custom modular homes, technology has changed so much. We can basically turn any building into modular. But it can be an architect design house. It can be a shopping center, multi-level apartment. So any structure can be turned into modular construction, and that is custom modular construction. So we are not limited with any design, and because it is up to 90% will be made in the factory, it is cost effective and also very short. Construction is going to be short time.
Yeah, but I guess because it's custom, if you're building one house, it's nowhere near as efficient as if you're building 50 of them. And so there's, I guess there's some efficiencies of scale that you're going to get the larger the project that you've got, but it still doesn't make it unaffordable for a one-off design, correct?
Yes, that's correct. So one house is going to be not, as cheap as, building 3 or more houses. But once the, factory settings, machine settings is done for building that specific house, building 1 versus 300 doesn't make any difference. So the more we build, we save more on the materials, and that savings returns back to you as cost saving.
Yeah. So, which means, I guess, for anyone doing a one-off custom design, you're certainly going to get some savings, but the similar your designs are. So if you're doing a 50 townhouse project and you've got 3 different designs in there, then you're going to get some really good efficiencies out of those as you start to scale the process.
Yes, that's correct.
Very good.
So we prefer building 3 or more houses, but again, depending on your project, we built mansions, really, really large houses, mansions in very large land. So a project like that will not be as custom, but again, we will really enjoy doing a project like that too.
Yeah, of course. And you touched on some of the things that you can build, but I took some notes, I guess, before the show as to some of the things that you can build. So you can build a single house, you can build townhouses, you can build apartments, you've built restaurants, gyms, hotels, resorts, shopping centers, over 55 villages. And you even mentioned one which I think was a resort sitting on water in Venezuela. Is that right?
It's in Venezuela. Yeah, it's a resort. All of the modular houses are on the water. And it is a really nice design. You have to see that one.
So what has to happen there is clearly a process to take the original architectural design and kind of disassemble it to go, well, how do we actually break that up into pieces? So maybe if we just kind of walk through the process for everyone, give them some insights into, I guess, how they might actually go about this, just so they've got some ideas, some understanding of some concepts and timelines and that sort of thing as well. So I guess starting out, they can use their own architectural design with their own architect.
Yeah. So our manufacturing and whole team is in Turkey. We can design anything for you. We have a very large architectural team, but if you would like to work with your own architect and you have something specific in your mind, we're happy to take the architect's design. Then this design will go to our structural engineers. They're going to check how long it will take, just not really will work on the specifications, but they're just going to get a general idea about how we can divide this into modules.
Yeah, and then obviously,
I
was going to say, obviously, before all the work starts, they've got to send it off to actually get a quote, and then your team's going to work those elements out. Probably one of the biggest parts of that process before giving a quote is the actual interior design and what's the fixtures and fittings and that sort of thing going to look like, because putting a wall in is one thing, but if you put a wall in with a particular set of cornices and particular tiles and different finishes, fixtures and finishes, that can change the cost significantly. So having someone that has got that interior design already mapped out is really important. Yes.
Yes, it is. Again, we can do that for you. But if you already have, everything planned, it's going to take a week for us to come up with a code. We are going to check the tiles, tapware, everything you're using, and just will quote you in approximately a week. It depends on the complexity. So everything is custom. Again, it depends on the complexity of the project. Once you get the code, then if it's approved, then structural engineers will start working on it. So we are going to work on the modules, how effective we can make it, according to, package it nicely, and transport, logistics. We will consider every detail and make it just divide it into modules in the most effective way for you.
Very good. And then next step in the process, once the structural engineers have actually worked out how to divide that into modules, then they can actually start the construction process, assuming that you've pulled the trigger and said yes. how quickly can construction start? You mentioned 7 factories, but must be building stuff all the way around the globe. How quickly can production start once somebody says yes?
When somebody says yes, we will find a way to, start the construction immediately. We have factories, but we can also work with contractors. We're not going to wait. So construction basically will start immediately. By the way, you don't have to wait for us when we are, constructing your building in the factory. On the site, you can start the construction, the landscaping or anything you would like to start. Go ahead. So we will start manufacturing up to 90% in the factory. Everything will be with CNC machines and to certain specifications, very detailed, so there's no human error. All you need to do is put the modules and then screw them and done. It's going to take approximately 2 weeks if it's 2 levels, and 10 days if it is a single level.
That's the assembly part. We've jumped a few steps here. Let's go back.
Yeah,
we've got to go. How long is it actually going to take to actually manufacture inside the factory itself?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So and remembering, we could be doing 1 house, or we could be doing 50 townhouses, for example. So give us some ideas on how long it would take to in the factory build 1 house, and then when we start to turn that into 50, what's the timeline difference?
Yeah, a single house, depending on how many projects we have, or are we just squeezing it in, between all of these projects, usually can take around 1 month to manufacture. 3 houses, again, it's going to be 1 month. Once machines start running, it doesn't make difference between 1 and 3. If we are building like 50, then 50 houses, then it is 160 days manufacturing,
which is still pretty quick for 50 houses, right? So okay, so now we've got it manufactured. You said that the facilities are over in Turkey, so clearly we've got to ship that over to Australia. So there's going to be some shipping timelines. I think you mentioned, subject to which route they've got to take and what part of Australia they're going to, that sort of thing, somewhere between 45 and 60 days, something in that vicinity.
Yes, 45 to 60 days. But, I worked as an interior designer, and, when you order a custom couch, sometimes it takes that long time to arrive to Australia. So for a house to arrive in 45 days, and when construction is going on already, it doesn't really make too much difference. Logistics is pretty quick. As soon as it arrives in Australian shores. Usually custom takes around 3 days, but that's something we do not have much control over. It depends on it depends on other people, how long it's going to wait there. So there might be some waiting time, but usually it's just 3 days at the customs.
Yeah, and obviously that's not in your control. Customs have got their own timelines and that sort of thing. But, if we said a week as a worst case scenario, it's still going to be pretty much able to be brought to site pretty quickly. Then from a builder's perspective, actually assembling this, you said 90% is built in the factory. So I guess the builders are actually assembling on site. How many people does it actually take to assemble a house?
We usually use 4 men for assembling each house. If it's a large project, you can either, move these people and build one by one, or we can bring in more people to finish it even faster for you.
Yep. And you touched on before, with 4 people per house, you said a 1 level takes about 10 days. Or a two-story structure, about 2 weeks to actually assemble on site. So
yes,
pretty quick. That's just 1 house. If we want to do 50, we could do the same 4 men and just go from house to house to house,
Mhm.
or we could just bring more men, right?
We can do,
So,
yeah.
so the more labor you can bring, and you touched on this previously, sometimes for projects of that sort of scale, sometimes the builders don't have that amount of labor that is skilled up in order to do this. But you guys can bring labor from overseas that are specialized in assembling these houses to speed up those larger projects, yes?
Yes, if it's a large project, we prefer bringing at least a supervisor who will actually do the work by himself too, and will show the labor, Australian labor, how to do it. Actually, any builder can figure this out. It's not a complicated system. It's just screwing them in together, just making, structural, connections. That's it. Everything else comes in modules, so very easy. We can also train your builders. We can just give, instructions, provide written instructions, or we can give a short training online if you feel like it's needed. Usually, you don't really need a builder. Carpenter would be enough to build these houses. It's very simple.
I'm sure from a skills perspective, but I'm not sure from a licensing perspective how that goes.
Exactly.
But,
Yeah. For licensing, you will need for DA and everything else. Yeah.
So it might take a little while for us to convince our builders, hey, this alternative approach is actually available, but certainly worth having a chat to your builder and pointing them in Ozge's direction to say, hey, have a look at this and see whether or not that's something that you want to take on. And the training, as you said, is not going to take long to actually get them there. All of this sounds fantastic. It kind of means that when we're physically on site, our site starts constructing super quick. But why are some of the cost efficiencies here? What makes this a cost-effective solution?
So I will talk about custom modular houses, why it's cost efficient. It's cost efficient because you're going to have a high-end design. You can use an architect, you can use our architect, so the design is going to be a perfection. It's going to be manufactured in the factory, and there won't be any human error. There won't be any material waste. That's why it's also viable option. Another reason is time is money, and this takes really short time to build. You can start renting or selling immediately. You will get higher quality, factory quality, at more reasonable price. If you work with Boxareno, you will be working with very large organization. We're in 8 countries and we have lots of projects going on, 7 factories only working for our projects. So we don't waste. We have deals with manufacturers, and we buy the materials for cheaper. And we have other resources like natural stone mine. So we basically cut the middleman, and you work only with us. And that's going to reduce the cost as well because of economies of scale. And I think the main saving is in the quality. So we're talking about really good, maybe, sustainable house. I'm not sure if you tried building a sustainable house in Australia. It's extremely costly. We can build passive houses. We can use sustainable materials, natural materials for you. And it's going to be, because it's all manufactured overseas, it's going to be cheaper.
Yeah, and I guess especially you talked about passive housing. That's super important with our new 7-star energy efficiency ratings that have come in. I guess making making sure that everything is getting the best, I guess, energy efficiency out of that process. But a passive house just takes that to a whole other level. And doing that, I guess, in a traditional sense is actually quite time consuming and laborious to actually do. So, knowing that that can be done, double glazed windows and that sort of thing, all standard in as part of this process, and everything built to Australian standards. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Everything built or exceeds Australian standards. We try to exceed it, so we don't have any problem. Usually, when you're importing, you have to be very careful with building materials. It's a good idea to work with a trusted company, large enough, who will provide you resources. So everything imported to Australia, there should be declaration of conformity for every material, and also we make it so. For example, double glazing windows or really high-end aluminum, windows and doors are just standard for us, because we don't really want to have any problem with the building codes and standards, and we provide every documentation for you.
Very good. And look, there's a lot of steps in this process, and that can be overwhelming for a lot of people. But Boxareno provides a turnkey solution if somebody doesn't have a builder. So you can take it from start to finish, or you can just take it part of the way through. How else do you make it super simple for someone to actually want to go down this path?
We provide turnkey, and that's basically what I prefer personally, making it easy for everyone. We do the design. If you do the design, we know where we can save you in terms of materials and design. But we are happy to work with. We are very flexible, and every project is unique. We are happy to work with your architects, with your builders. If you want us to organize everything, again, our aim is to make it affordable, reduce the cost here for a good design and quality design. So we can use our own builders, we can use our own architects, our own resources, and just give you turnkey. And also for large projects, we can bring labor to Australia. That is going to reduce the cost too. And also we can do the, let's say you're building a complex or senior living, or for a complex for a housing for people with disabilities. Those kind of things actually are hard to build. Custom design is very expensive in Australia. So we can reduce the cost from that as well, and build all of the common areas, the landscaping and everything also in the factory for you.
Very good. So look, we've spoken about cost effectiveness, and clearly there's the efficiencies of doing it within a factory. There's the efficiencies of the scale of your ordering processes. There's the lower holding costs in regards to how long it's actually taking you to construct, and a whole bunch of other things. When we add all that up together, the actual saving that we achieve, when you told me how much the saving was, I had to ask it 2 or 3 different ways, because I couldn't believe how much the saving was. So now, if we're just talking, remember, we get more economies of scale the more we build. So if we just do one single house, the worst case scenario, right? And we're trying to do a typical high-end home, what would be the approximate cost of one of your solutions versus a typical, I guess, high-end home?
So for one house, let's say 2/3 of what you would pay in Australia. More than 3 houses, 1/3 of what you would pay in Australia.
So I want to say that again so everybody actually picks it up. So turnkey, start to finish, from factory, landed, installed,
logistics.
Put the key in the lock, right? Put the key in the lock. if you do a single home, about 2/3 of the cost of a custom home.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're doing 3 or more, then it can get as low as 1/3 of the cost of a custom-made home. Now that just sounds ridiculously cheap, right? And so I can hear my audience right now, and they're going, "What's the catch, Ozge? What's the catch? Surely the quality can't be that good, right?"
Oh no, quality. That's the advantage. Quality. You're getting definitely high-end, better quality products. The catch is our capabilities. The reason why we can do that is because we have so many projects going on all at the same time, and we manufacture everything by ourselves. We have the capabilities to build anything. So there's really no catch. This is the price we give. And we have, again, the builder's cost here. Not much we can do. Our builders are reasonable. They will give reasonable price. If you want to work with your own builders, there's that cost. If you're working with an Australian architect, of course, architect cost is high, but the building cost, manufacturing, that's what the price is.
Very good. So, okay, so this all sounds too good to be true. And so you said that you've got a very, very unique quality control process that for those people who don't actually believe it, you offer a service where you'll actually assemble it on site in the factory in Turkey, and somebody can physically walk through the home before it's actually shipped here, and then they disassemble it and then post it over.
Yes, that's right. So in our backyard, we are going to put the house together for you. We will build it, and then you can have a virtual tour if you want. We can walk in it and show you every detail. You see it. If you want to get the feel of it, plane ticket to Turkey is not very expensive. If you're building like 300 houses, 50 houses here, definitely go Turkey, be our guest, walk in the house, and you can make any changes. You can, up to 10%, we can change the interior. So before we start, manufacturing 50 houses for you, it's a good idea to see what you're getting. In terms of the design, the materials, if you want to make any changes, we are happy to change it.
Very good. And that just sounds unbelievable to go, I'm gonna assemble it over there, have a walk through it, pull it apart, then put it on the container, then bring it across, and then put it back together, and it's still gonna look the same. That just sounds amazing.
Yeah. Because building these houses not very difficult. For any hotel construction we do, for example, we build the rooms inside the factory too. We actually build the room, all of the fittings, furnishings. We first show everyone how it's going to look, just to make sure everyone happy.
Very good. Okay, so if somebody wants to potentially go down this path, obviously come talk to you is the obvious answer, but what's the key takeaway that somebody wants to consider here as to whether or not they should be considering your product versus, I guess, a custom a custom build themselves with a typical builder? Why would they consider yours over theirs other than just the pure cost?
Other than cost, we would like to get your project. We are a large company. We built up relationships. Everyone we work together, we do a couple of projects. We don't, we have lots of returning customers, and that's how we survive. So every project is unique. We will try to give you the best solution, the best price. And let's just talk for your project. It's a unique project, and I'm more than happy to help you.
Very good. Well, thank you, Ozge. It's been very, very interesting to find out all about that and some of the capabilities that can actually be done in and around this space. So, folks, Ozge is going to present at one of our upcoming meetups as an industry expert and give us some actual visuals about what can actually be achieved, so you can actually see some of that build quality. If you're looking to come to our events, we run these all the way around the country. We run them in Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, and Adelaide. You can physically turn up, and we also live stream them all the way around the country. So it would be fantastic if you could actually make it there. Plus, we have people sharing real deals. We do our masterminding process and a whole bunch more. So would love to see you guys at an upcoming event. Ozge, thank you very much for sharing, I guess, your journey and a lot about the Box Areno product and prefab, I guess, in and of itself. It's been very, very interesting. And I can't wait to see you, I guess, as the industry expert in the future.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much for your time. It's really great to connect with your network. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks, folks. Bye.
Bye.